All right, so the world's tallest roller coaster is King Ka at Six Flags in New Jersey. This bad boy, it measures a height of 465 feet, a maximum speed of 206 kilometers per hour. But it is nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to the beast that is now the Federal Reserve balance sheet. And look at this, folks. We are on our way to a fun ride. You know, it's really interesting. This is a $9 trillion roller coaster, and we're all bracing for it to come barreling down. Joining me now to discuss, we got Bianco Research President Jim Bianco. And Jim, psychologists say that people with high levels of dopamine love to engage in sensational behavior like roller coasters and skydiving. For everyone else, though, this looks scary as all get out. How frightened should we be?
Well, we should be some concerned because what the Fed is doing is they're removing reserves from the banking system. That's what the decline in the balance sheet will mean. They've never attempted it on the scale that they have. They've modeled it, which is a fancy way of saying they've put some numbers in an Excel spreadsheet and they said, okay, I think it's going to be fine. We can only hope that it's going to turn out that way. So this is an untested experiment. And so, yeah, we've got a right to be a little bit concerned about it.
Yesterday, Janet Yellen joined Jay Powell admitting that, okay, she was wrong in inflation and that at the time she didn't understand the shocks from energy and food prices. Of course, you understood them. You came on the show over and over, and you weren't the only one, but a lot of folks knew back then. Of course, you're not the Treasury Secretary, the Chairman of the Fed. So how much trust should we have now that they'll get this right?
Well, let's give her credit for at least admitting the mistake.
Yeah.
Sometimes in Washington, that's even hard for people to do. But you know, what she didn't do is tell us why she had the mistake. She gave us the circumstances and how that's going to change policy going forward from here. So I'd like her to fill that out a little bit more. And I'm afraid that they're not going to, because I'm afraid that the answer is going to be not only did we get it wrong, but that inflation might stick around for a little while longer because they want the narrative to be it's going to go away as quickly as possible. And so we
Jim,
might still be...
how afraid are you also, though, that the reason they got it wrong is that perhaps she knew one thing as a professional, but she had to say another thing as working for the administration?
Oh, I think that there's some of that. But, you know, in fairness to her, the Fed also got it wrong, too. They didn't have to say those things like the administration. But the other thing to keep in mind is they'll fall back on it was energy, it was food, it was supply chain. Every country had that, but we had the highest inflation rate in the world. We stimulated, we mailed more money, the Fed printed more than any other country. That's why our inflation rate is the highest in the developed world, and that's what the Fed's trying to reverse.
All right, so on that note then, they got all kinds of possibilities, and I've got a list here of things. I want you to help us out with this task that the Fed has, because they've got their official mandates, employment and price stability, but also the unofficial mandate of the stock market and housing markets. Ironically now, though, they want the market lower, they want the housing boom to stop, they want prices to go down, and they want employment to go sideways. Is this combination even plausible?
No, it isn't in the long run. For the short run, they could maybe see that happen, that they could see the stock market fall down, the housing market struggle, people get afraid, stop buying things, inflation comes down. But all of that will filter through into employment. The unemployment rate is a lagging indicator. So it will be the last one to turn, but it will turn if they start to lean on the economy to try and bring down inflation. So I understand, you know, the phrase is we're going to have a soft landing. The Fed has attempted multiple times to have a soft landing. Sullenberg is not the Fed chairman. I would bet on a hard landing at this point.
Real quick, I got 30 seconds. I got to show you something. This is the internet in 1969. This was the penetration. 3 universities and somewhere in Utah. You've been real edgy about the DeFi revolution recently. And you keep saying, listen, it's like the internet at the very beginning. Are we this far back? Where are we in the progress, the relationship between the DeFi revolution and the internet? This is where we were in 69 on the internet.
Yeah, we're a little further than that. I'd say we're in the early 90s. We're in the early 90s, but it's still very early days of this. And look, all new technologies are fraught with scams and fraud and a lot of volatility. I still believe this is going to be a revolution, but that doesn't mean it's going to be an easy road to get to that revolution. Even as an investor, you're going to have a lot of pitfalls, and we're having a big one right now. So I keep the faith. I still think that what we're doing is redesigning the financial system. It is going to be something revolutionary in 10 or 20 years.
Jim, thank you so much. Always appreciate our conversations. And speaking of Bitcoin, folks, hovering around 30,000 right now. And